Yara, you really should consider taking up watercolors now that you'll have all this free time. Juliet's voice cut through the dining room like a blade wrapped in silk. She didn't even look up from her perfectly arranged salmon as she delivered what she probably thought was helpful advice. The crystal chandelier above us caught the light from her diamond tennis bracelet as she gestured dismissively in my direction. My name is Yara, and I was about to become the most expensive mistake the Garrett family ever made. Watercolors, I repeated, setting down my wine glass with deliberate care. How thoughtful of you to think of my future hobbies, Juliet. Heath shifted uncomfortably beside me, his jaw tight. We'd been married for 8 years, and I could read his tales like a children's book. The way he avoided eye contact, the nervous tap of his fingers against his thigh, the slight flush creeping up his neck. He was about to drop a bomb, and his mother was already celebrating. Well, you've never shown much interest in Heath's work, Donald chimed in from the head of the table, his voice carrying that particular brand of condescension that old money perfects over generations. Always seem more interested in those little computer projects of yours. Those little computer projects, I smiled, tasting the irony. If only he knew. Alana laughed, a sound like breaking glass. She sat across from me, perfectly poised in her navy blazer, every inch the corporate queen bee. Oh, I think it's wonderful when women have hobbies. It keeps them busy. The word hobbies hit exactly the way she intended. I'd pitched 3 different business concepts to this family over the years. Each time, they'd listened with the kind of patient smiles you give a child explaining their imaginary friend. Each time, Heath had nodded along before quietly explaining later why it wasn't the right time or too risky for our family's reputation. Speaking of keeping busy, Heath finally spoke, his voice strained. He cleared his throat twice before continuing. There's something I need to tell everyone. The room went silent except for the soft clink of silverware. Juliet set down her fork with theatrical precision. Donald leaned back in his chair like he was settling in for a show. Alana's lips curved into the faintest smile. I already knew. Had known for weeks, actually. The late nights, the sudden business trips, the way he'd started showering immediately when he came home. The way Alana's name had started appearing in his conversations with increasing frequency. Yara and I are getting divorced. There it was. Clean, simple, devastating. Oh, Heath. Juliet's voice dripped with fake sympathy. I'm so sorry to hear that. She wasn't sorry. None of them were. I could see it in their faces. The barely contained relief, the satisfaction of finally being rid of the woman who never quite fit their mold. These things happen, Donald said, already moving on. Better to handle it cleanly, privately. Actually, Heath continued, his voice gaining strength, Alana and I are together now. We're planning to marry next spring. Alana reached across the table and squeezed his hand. I hope everyone can be happy for us. I know this is complicated. Complicated. That was one word for it. Juliet practically glowed. Alana, darling, you know we've always adored you. You're so perfect for Heath. You understand his world. His world? The world I'd been living in for 8 years but apparently never belonged to. Well, I said, standing slowly, I suppose congratulations are in order. The silence stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Yara, Heath started, but I held up my hand. No, really. I'm happy for you both. I looked directly at Alana. You're getting exactly what you wanted. Juliet reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. Yara, dear, we've prepared a little something to help with your transition. Consider it a gesture of goodwill. A severance package. They were giving me a severance package like I was a fired employee instead of a family member. I took the envelope without opening it. How generous. We just want to make sure you land on your feet, Donald said. Find your own path. My own path. If they only knew I'd been building it for 3 years already. I walked around the table, kissed Heath's cheek, he flinched and headed for the door. Yara! Juliet called after me. Do take care of yourself. I paused at the threshold and turned back. They were all watching me with expressions ranging from pity to satisfaction. 8 years of my life, and this was how it ended, with a check and a pat on the head. I smiled then, the kind of smile that should have made them nervous. Don't worry about me, I said. I have a feeling I'm going to do just fine. The envelope sat on my kitchen counter like a loaded gun. I'd been staring at it for 20 minutes, still wearing the black dress I'd chosen specifically because Juliet hated it. Too tight, she'd said once. Too attention-seeking. My phone buzzed. Nora. How did it go? Her voice was careful, like she was talking to someone on a ledge. Exactly as expected. I picked up the envelope, feeling its weight. They gave me severance pay. They what? Like I was an employee they were letting go. Very generous of them, really. Nora was quiet for a moment. She was the only person who knew about Phoenix Consulting, my little computer project that had been quietly generating 6 figures for the past 3 years. While he thought I was playing around with websites, I'd been building a consulting firm that specialized in digital transformation for mid-sized companies. How much? She asked. I tore open the envelope. The check was made out in Juliet's careful script. $50,000. Jesus. I know, right? $50,000 to disappear from their lives forever. I laughed, but it came out sharp. Do you know what I can do with $50,000? Yara, I can leverage it. Use it as collateral for a business loan. Maybe acquire that struggling firm in Portland we've been watching. Slow down. You just got divorced an hour ago. No, I got free an hour ago. I walked to my laptop and opened it. The Phoenix Consulting dashboard loaded, showing our current client roster, revenue projections, and the acquisition targets I'd been tracking. Nora, pull up the Garrett Industries file. Why? Just do it. I heard her typing. Okay, I'm looking at it. What's their debt-to-equity ratio? Yara, what are you thinking? Answer the question. She sighed. It's not great. They're over-leveraged from that expansion into the European market. Why? I smiled at my reflection in the laptop screen. Because I think it's time Phoenix Consulting got more aggressive with our growth strategy. You want to go after Heath's family business? I want to go after a vulnerable company that's ripe for acquisition. The fact that it belongs to my ex-husband's family is just convenient. Nora was quiet for a long moment. This is about revenge. This is about business. Bullshit. I closed the laptop. Fine. It's about both. They spent 8 years treating me like a decorative houseplant. They just paid me to disappear. Well, congratulations. They're about to get exactly what they paid for. Yara, listen to yourself. You're talking about corporate warfare. I'm talking about capitalism. They taught me the rules, Nora. They just never expected me to play by them. My phone rang. Heath. I let it go to voicemail, then played it on speaker. Yara, it's me. Look, I know tonight was difficult, but I hope we can handle this maturely. My lawyer will be in touch about the paperwork. And Yara, please don't make this harder than it has to be. I deleted the message. He sounds worried, Nora said. He should be. I opened my laptop again and pulled up the business loan application I'd been working on for months. I need you to run the numbers on a hostile takeover scenario. A what? You heard me. I want to know what it would cost to acquire a controlling interest in Garrett Industries. That would take millions. Phoenix Consulting cleared $2.3 million last year. We have assets, we have credit, and now we have $50,000 in seed money from the Garrett family themselves. I started typing. Plus, I know things about their business that their competitors don't. Like what? Like the fact that their biggest client, Morrison Tech, is unhappy with their service level. Like the fact that 3 of their senior developers are looking for new jobs. Like the fact that Alana's management style has already pissed off half the sales team. How do you know all that? Because I spent 8 years listening to Heath complain about work over dinner. Turns out all those boring conversations were actually corporate intelligence briefings. Nora laughed despite herself. You're insane. I'm motivated. There's a difference. I pulled up Garrett Industries' public financial statements. They think I'm going to fade away quietly, maybe start a little Etsy shop or something. They have no idea what I've been building. And when they find out? I thought about Juliet's condescending smile, Donald's dismissive wave, Alana's perfectly manicured fingers intertwined with my husband's. When they find out, it'll be too late. This could backfire spectacularly, or it could be the best investment I ever make. I click submit on the loan application. Either way, it beats watercolors. Nora was quiet for a moment. What do you need me to do? Research. I want to know everything about Garrett Industries' vulnerabilities, client relationships, employee satisfaction, cash flow problems, everything. And then we're going to give them exactly what they deserve. 6 months later, I stood in the lobby of the Meridian Hotel, adjusting the emerald green dress I'd bought specifically for tonight's charity gala. The same event where Heath had proposed to me 9 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on me. You clean up nice for a tech mogul, Nora said, appearing beside me with 2 champagne flutes. Phoenix Consulting has had a good year. I took the glass, scanning the crowd. Speaking of which, did Marcus finalize the Peterson Group acquisition? Signed this morning. That makes 4 companies in 6 months. 4 strategic acquisitions, each one carefully chosen to position us closer to Garrett Industries' client base. The business loan had come through faster than expected. Apparently, a profitable consulting firm with a spotless credit history was exactly what banks wanted to invest in. There they are, Nora murmured. Heath and Alana stood near the silent auction table, looking every inch the power couple. She wore a black cocktail dress that probably cost more than most people's rent, and he had that confident smile he used to charm investors. They were surrounded by the usual crowd of tech executives and old money socialites. Showtime, I said. We walked over casually, timing it perfectly as the group around them dispersed. Yara? Heath's voice cracked slightly. I didn't expect to see you here. The Children's Hospital fundraiser? I've been coming for years. I smiled warmly. You look well, Heath. Marriage suits you. Alana stepped closer to him, her hand finding his arm. Yara, how lovely to see you. How are you adjusting? Wonderfully, actually. I've been keeping busy. Still doing your computer thing? Heath asked, and I caught the slight condescension in his tone. Something like that. I sipped my champagne. Congratulations on the Morrison Tech renewal, by the way. I heard it was touch and go for a while. Heath's smile faltered. Morrison Tech was Garrett Industries' biggest client, and their contract renewal had been a nightmare. How would I know that? Business is good, he said carefully. I'm sure it is. Though I heard through the grapevine that you lost the Hartwell account last month. That must have stung. Alana's eyes narrowed. You seem remarkably well informed about our business. Oh, you know how it is in tech. Everyone talks. I turned to Heath. I actually ran into David Kim from your development team last week. He mentioned he's exploring new opportunities. Heath went pale. David Kim was their lead developer, and if he was job hunting, that was a problem. Where did you run into David? Alana asked. At a networking event. Phoenix Consulting has been expanding rapidly. We're always looking for top talent. Phoenix Consulting? Heath repeated. My company. We specialize in digital transformation for mid-market firms. It's been quite successful, actually. The silence stretched uncomfortably. I could see the wheels turning in both their heads. How successful? Alana asked, her voice tight. Well, we just closed our 4th acquisition this year. Growing fast, you know how it is. A waiter approached with a tray of hors d'oeuvres. I took a small plate, acting completely casual, while Heath and Alana exchanged glances. 4 acquisitions, Heath said slowly. That's impressive. Thank you. We've been particularly focused on companies that serve the enterprise software market. Lots of opportunity there. Alana's grip on Heath's arm tightened. Enterprise software was Garrett Industries' bread and butter. Yara, she said, her voice saccharine, it's wonderful that you found something to keep you busy. Freedom can be such a gift, can't it? No more boring corporate dinners, no more pretending to understand business discussions. There it was, the jab I'd been waiting for. You're absolutely right, I said, smiling brightly. I'm so much happier now that I don't have to pretend anymore. Pretend? Heath asked. To be interested in other people's businesses when I could be building my own. I finished my champagne. Speaking of which, I should go mingle. There are some potential clients here tonight. I started to walk away, then turned back as if I'd just remembered something. Oh, Heath, you might want to have a conversation with your sales team. I heard through the grapevine that morale is pretty low. Something about management changes not going over well. His face went white. 3 of their top salespeople had quit in the past month, all citing issues with Alana's new performance metrics. How could you possibly know that? Alana snapped. Like I said, everyone talks, especially when they're unhappy. I smiled sweetly. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I walked away, feeling their stares burning into my back. Nora caught up with me near the bar. That was brutal, she whispered. That was just the opening move. I set down my empty glass. Did you see their faces when I mentioned the acquisitions? Alana looked like she wanted to murder you. Good. Let them wonder what I'm really up to. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. The Peterson Group integration should be complete by Monday. That puts us in direct competition with Garrett Industries for the Blackstone contract. The $50 million Blackstone contract? The very one, I smiled. I told you this would be fun. The call came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing Phoenix Consulting's quarterly projections. Unknown number, but I answered anyway. Ms. Garrett, this is Tristan Stewart. I'm a senior executive recruiter specializing in tech talent. I nearly choked on my coffee. Tristan Stewart, Alana's brother. The same Tristan who'd been at their wedding, who'd given that toast about family loyalty and shared vision. I'm sorry, but I think you have the wrong number. My name is Yara Blackwood. I legally changed it back to my maiden name 3 months ago, but kept using Garrett for business purposes when it suited me. My apologies. I'm actually calling about Phoenix Consulting. I understand you're the owner. I am. What can I do for you, Tristan? We represent several high-level executives who are exploring new opportunities. Your company has caught their attention. I leaned back in my chair, grinning. Really? What kind of executives? Senior developers, project managers, sales directors, people with extensive experience in enterprise software solutions. People from Garrett Industries. It had to be. That's interesting. We're always looking for top talent. Are these individuals currently employed? Yes, but let's say they're open to the right opportunity. I see. And what makes Phoenix Consulting attractive to them? Growth trajectory, company culture, competitive compensation packages. Your reputation in the industry has been quite impressive lately. My reputation. 6 months ago, nobody in tech knew who I was. Now I was poaching talent from my ex-husband's company through his new sister-in-law's brother. The universe had a sense of humor. I'd be happy to discuss opportunities. Can you tell me more about their backgrounds? I'd prefer to do this in person. Are you available for lunch tomorrow? Absolutely. The Copper Kettle at noon? Perfect. I'll send you the profiles beforehand. After he hung up, I immediately called Nora. You're not going to believe this, I said. Try me. Alana's brother just called. He's headhunting for us. What? Tristan Stewart. He's a recruiter, and he wants to set up meetings between Phoenix and several high-level executives who are looking for new opportunities. From Garrett Industries? Has to be. The timing is too perfect. I pulled up our competitor analysis on my screen. Remember how I mentioned their sales team was unhappy? Looks like the problem is spreading. This could be a trap, or it could be Christmas morning. Either way, I'm taking the meeting. The next day, I arrived at the Copper Kettle 15 minutes early and chose a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. Tristan walked in exactly at noon. Tall, silver-haired, wearing an expensive suit that screamed old money. He looked like a male version of Alana, all sharp angles and calculated charm. Ms. Blackwood? He extended his hand. Tristan Stewart. Please, call me Yara. I shook his hand, noting the firm grip and the way his eyes assessed me. Thank you for reaching out. We ordered quickly. Salads for both of us. The kind of power lunch meal that said we were too busy for real food. I'll be direct, Tristan said. I have 3 executives who are interested in Phoenix Consulting, all currently employed at Garrett Industries. Garrett Industries? I kept my voice neutral. I'm familiar with them. Solid company. Solid, yes, but experiencing some internal challenges. What kind of challenges? Management restructuring. New policies that aren't sitting well with long-term employees. The kind of growing pains that make talented people reconsider their options. I nodded sympathetically. That's unfortunate. What positions are we talking about? Senior developer, sales director, and VP of client relations. My heart rate spiked. The VP of client relations managed all of Garrett Industries' major accounts, including Morrison Tech and the Blackstone contract. Impressive backgrounds, I'm sure. The best. Each has over 10 years with the company, deep client relationships, institutional knowledge, proven track records. And they're all looking to leave at the same time? Tristan's smile was thin. Let's just say the new management style isn't universally appreciated. I see. What kind of compensation are they expecting? Competitive base, equity participation, and... He paused. Discretion. Discretion? Non-compete clauses can be complicated. They'd need assurance that their transition would be handled professionally. I almost laughed. He was asking me to help them break their non-compete agreements with my ex-husband's company. Phoenix Consulting has excellent legal counsel. We're very experienced with talent transitions. Good. There's one more thing. He leaned forward. They're particularly interested in your acquisition strategy. Word is, you're expanding aggressively. We are. The market is ripe for consolidation. Any particular targets? I met his eyes directly. We're always looking for undervalued companies with strong client bases and growth potential. Companies like Garrett Industries? The question hung in the air like smoke. This was it. The moment where I had to decide how much to reveal. Garrett Industries is an established player, I said carefully. But established doesn't always mean stable. No, it doesn't. He smiled. I think my clients would be very interested in that perspective. When can we meet? This Friday. My office. 2:00. Perfect. I stood to leave, then paused. Tristan, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you know who I am? His smile faltered slightly. I'm sorry. My full name, my background, my connection to Garrett Industries. He was quiet for a long moment. Should I? No, I said, smiling. But you will. I walked out of the restaurant knowing I just lit a fuse. The only question was how long it would take to reach the dynamite. The call came at 6 a.m. on a Monday. Nora's voice was breathless with excitement. It worked. The shell company acquisition went through. We officially own 38% of Garrett Industries. I sat up in bed, fully awake. 38%? The board meeting is this morning at 10. They have no idea what hit them. 3 months of careful maneuvering had led to this moment. Phoenix Consulting had quietly acquired shares through a network of shell companies and investment firms, each purchase small enough to avoid triggering disclosure requirements. The beauty of it was that Garrett Industries was so focused on their operational problems, the talent hemorrhaging, the client defections, the internal chaos, They hadn't noticed the systematic buying of their stock. Are you ready for this? Nora asked. I've been ready for 8 years. I arrived at the Garrett Industries building at 9:45 a.m., wearing my sharpest black suit and carrying a leather portfolio that contained the documents that would change everything. The lobby looked exactly the same as it had during those rare occasions when Heath had brought me to company events. Marble floors, expensive art, the kind of understated luxury that whispered old money. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like ascending to my own coronation. The boardroom was already full when I walked in. Donald sat at the head of the table, looking older than I remembered. Heath was to his right, Alana beside him. The other board members, faces I recognized from years of the corporate functions, were scattered around the mahogany table. The conversation stopped when I entered. I'm sorry, Donald said, but this is a private board meeting. Actually, I said, taking the empty chair at the far end of the table, I have every right to be here. Heath stood up. Yara, what the hell are you doing? Attending a board meeting of a company I own. I opened my portfolio and pulled out the stock certificates. As of this morning, Phoenix Consulting and its affiliated entities own 38% of Garrett Industries. The silence was deafening. That's impossible, Alana said, her voice sharp. We would have been notified of any major stock purchases. You were. Every purchase was properly filed with the SEC. You just didn't connect the dots. I slid copies of the documentation across the table. Meridian Holdings, Blackstone Ventures, Pacific Investment Group, all subsidiaries of Phoenix Consulting. Donald's face had gone gray. This is a hostile takeover. This is capitalism, I smiled. And according to the corporate bylaws, any shareholder with more than 35% has the right to call for new board elections. You can't do this, Heath said, his voice rising. This company has been in our family for 40 years. And now it's mine. Alana was frantically typing on her phone. I'm calling our lawyers. Go ahead. You'll find everything is completely legal. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city skyline. Though I should mention, 3 of your senior executives will be joining Phoenix Consulting next week, along with the Morrison Tech and Blackstone contracts. What? Donald's voice was barely a whisper. David Kim, Sarah Martinez, and Robert Chen. I turned back to face them. They've already signed their new employment agreements. Non-compete clauses are tricky things. Turns out they're not enforceable when the company violates its own employment policies. Heath slammed his hand on the table. This is revenge. Pure and simple. This is business. You taught me that, remember? All those dinners where you explained how the real world works, how sentiment has no place in corporate decisions. I walked back to my chair. I was listening. The press will crucify you for this, Alana said. A bitter ex-wife destroying her former family's company? The optics are terrible. Are they? Because the story I'm hearing is about a brilliant entrepreneur who built a consulting empire from nothing and then executed a masterful acquisition of an underperforming competitor. I sat down and crossed my legs. The press loves a success story. My phone buzzed. A text from Shanice, my legal advisor. TechCrunch wants an exclusive. Wall Street Journal is calling. Stock price up 12%. Speaking of the press, I said, you might want to check the news. The announcement went live 20 minutes ago. Several board members immediately reached for their phones. I watched their faces change as they read the headlines. Phoenix Consulting acquires controlling interest in Garrett Industries. Tech mogul Yara. Blackwood orchestrates stunning corporate takeover. From startup to empire, the rise of Phoenix Consulting. This will destroy you, Juliet's voice came from the doorway. I hadn't heard her come in, but there she stood, impeccably dressed as always, her face a mask of cold fury. Hello, Juliet. You look well. You vindictive little— Careful, I interrupted. I'm your new boss. The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. I'll fight this, she said. We all will. With what? Your stock is worthless now. Your key employees are gone. Your biggest clients are following them. I stood up and gathered my papers. But please, feel free to try. I walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Heath, you might want to update your LinkedIn. I hear there are some great opportunities in middle management these days. The elevator doors closed on their stunned faces, and I finally allowed myself to smile. Checkmate. The boardroom felt different when I walked in as CEO 3 weeks later. Same mahogany table, same expensive chairs. But now I sat at the head where Donald used to hold court. The power shift was tangible. You could taste it in the air. Thank you all for coming, I said, looking around the table at the faces that ranged from curious to hostile. I know this transition has been unexpected. Tristan sat to my left, still looking shell-shocked from discovering his mysterious client was his sister's ex-sister-in-law. Across from him, 3 remaining board members who'd survived the purge watched me with barely concealed resentment. Before we begin, I continued, I want to address the elephant in the room. Yes, I was married to Heath. Yes, this acquisition was personal. But personal doesn't mean unprofessional, doesn't it? Margaret Walsh, the longest-serving board member, leaned forward. You've systematically dismantled a 40-year-old company out of spite. I've restructured an underperforming company to maximize shareholder value. The spite was just a bonus. The door burst open. Alana stormed in. Her usually perfect composure cracked. You can't do this. I'm sorry, but this is a closed board meeting. You're no longer... I know exactly what I am. She slammed a folder on the table. I'm the person who's going to expose you for the fraud you are. I glanced at the folder. What's this? Proof that your acquisition was based on insider information. Information you obtained illegally during your marriage. Interesting theory. Do you have evidence? You knew about our client contracts, our employee issues, our financial vulnerabilities, information that wasn't public, information that was discussed at dinner tables, cocktail parties, and family gatherings for 8 years. I opened the folder and scanned the documents. This is all circumstantial. It's enough to trigger an SEC investigation. Go ahead. I welcome the scrutiny. I closed the folder and slid it back to her. While they're investigating, they'll discover that every stock purchase was legal, every business decision was sound, and every piece of information I used was either public or obtained through legitimate business channels. Tristan cleared his throat. Alana, perhaps we should... Don't. She whirled on him. Don't you dare defend her. She played you, Tristan. She used you to recruit our own employees. I used a headhunter to recruit talent. That's called business. You destroyed our family's legacy. Your family destroyed your legacy the moment you decided I wasn't worth listening to. I stood up, walking to the window. 8 years of board meetings where I was treated like furniture. 8 years of business ideas dismissed without consideration. 8 years of being told I didn't understand the real world. So this is revenge. This is justice. I turned back to face her. You want to know what's really satisfying? It's not the money or the power. It's proving that the decorative wife you all mocked was smarter than every single one of you. You're delusional if you think, I think I turned $50,000 into a $100 million company in less than 4 years. I think I identified and exploited every weakness in your business model. I think I'm sitting in the CEO chair while you're standing there unemployed. Alana's face went white. You haven't won yet. Haven't I? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screen. Stock price is up 30% since the acquisition announcement. Client retention is at 95%. Employee satisfaction scores have doubled. That's impossible. Turns out people prefer working for someone who actually listens to them. I sat back down. Which brings me to my next point. I'm offering employment contracts to everyone in this room. The silence was deafening. Generous packages, equity participation, full benefits. I looked directly at Alana. Everyone except the former executive team. You can't be serious. Dead serious. Tristan, you're a talented recruiter. I could use someone with your connections. Margaret, your institutional knowledge is valuable. Everyone else, there's a place for you here if you want it. And if we don't? Margaret asked. Then you don't. But I'd recommend taking some time to think about it. The job market is tough right now, especially for people with complicated references. Alana laughed bitterly. You really think you can buy everyone? I'm not buying anyone. I'm offering opportunities to people who've been undervalued and underutilized. I looked around the table. How many of your ideas were dismissed by the old management? How many times were you told, that's not how we do things here? I saw recognition flicker across several faces. This company was dying, I continued. Slow, bureaucratic, resistant to change. I'm offering you a chance to be part of something dynamic. Something built on revenge, Alana spat. Something built on competence. I stood up again. The contracts are on your desks. You have 48 hours to decide. Alana headed for the door, then stopped. This isn't over. Yes, it is. You just haven't accepted it yet. After she left, the room was quiet, except for the sound of papers rustling as board members examined their employment offers. Yara, Tristan said quietly, what you've done here, it's unprecedented. It's necessary. I gathered my papers. This company was built on the assumption that success comes from connections and legacy. I'm proving it comes from competence and vision. And revenge? I smiled. That's just the cherry on top. The emergency board meeting was called for 2 p.m. on a Friday. I walked into the conference room to find chaos, raised voices, scattered papers, and Alana standing at the head of the table like she owned the place. What's going on here? I asked. Shareholders' revolt, Margaret said grimly. Alana's been rallying the minority shareholders. Alana turned to face me, her smile sharp as a blade. Surprise? Turns out not everyone appreciates your hostile takeover tactics. This is my company now. Is it? Because I've been talking to some very concerned investors, people who think Phoenix Consulting's acquisition was built on fraud and manipulation. I looked around the room. Half the board members were avoiding eye contact. The other half looked like they were watching a tennis match. What exactly are you alleging? Insider trading, market manipulation, breach of fiduciary duty. Alana pulled out a thick folder. I've been busy, Yara. Turns out your perfect little acquisition has some very ugly details. Such as the fact that you used privileged information obtained during your marriage to target our company. Such as the fact that you deliberately destabilized our operations to drive down our stock price before buying in. I sat down slowly. You have proof of this? I have testimony from 3 former employees who say you approached them about leaving Garrett Industries 6 months before your acquisition. I have records showing Phoenix Consulting targeted our clients systematically. You have circumstantial evidence and disgruntled ex-employees. I leaned back in my chair. Is that really the hill you want to die on? I have enough to trigger a federal investigation, and I have enough minority shareholders to call for your removal as CEO. The room went silent. Margaret cleared her throat. Alana, what exactly are you proposing? A vote of no confidence. Today. Right now. That's not how this works, I said. I need 30% of outstanding shares to call the vote. I have 32%. Alana's smile was triumphant. Surprise number 2. My phone buzzed. A text from Nora. Emergency. Shareholders meeting in lobby. Press outside. This is bad. There's a shareholders meeting happening downstairs right now, Alana continued. Local news is covering it. Wall Street Journal has a reporter here. Your corporate fairy tale is about to become a very public nightmare. I stood up. Fine, let's go. Yara, Tristan said quietly, maybe you should reconsider. Or reconsider what? Defending the company I built? I looked around the room. Anyone who wants to abandon ship is a welcome to. But I'm going downstairs to face whatever circus Alana has organized. The elevator ride down felt like descending into hell. When the doors opened, I could see the crowd through the glass lobby doors. Shareholders, reporters, camera crews. Alana had orchestrated a media spectacle. "Last chance to settle this quietly," she said as we walked toward the lobby. "What are your terms? Resign as CEO. Sell your shares back to the family at cost. Disappear. And if I don't, then I destroy you publicly. Your reputation, your company, your future, all of it." I pushed open the lobby doors. The crowd turned toward us like a pack of wolves scenting blood. Cameras flashed, microphones were thrust forward, and voices shouted questions. "Ms. Blackwood, is it true you used insider information to acquire Garrett Industries? Are you responding to allegations of market manipulation? What's your response to calls for your resignation?" I walked to the center of the lobby, Alana beside me. The crowd pressed closer. "I'll make a statement," I said, my voice carrying over the noise. The crowd quieted. 6 months ago, I was dismissed from this building as a failed wife with no business sense. Today, I stand here as the CEO of a company that's increased in value by 40% since my acquisition. "But what about the allegations?" a reporter shouted. "The allegations are desperate attempts by people who can't accept that they were outmaneuvered by someone they underestimated." I looked directly at Alana. Every stock purchase was legal. Every business decision was strategic. Every move I made was within the bounds of corporate law. "You used privileged information." Alana stepped forward. "Information you obtained illegally. I used information that was freely shared at family dinners and cocktail parties. Information that anyone paying attention could have gathered." I turned to the cameras. "The real question is, why didn't the previous management act on information they had access to for years?" "Because we trusted you." Alana's composure finally cracked. "We treated you like family. You treated me like furniture. There's a difference," the crowd murmured. I could see some of the shareholders nodding. "This woman destroyed a 40-year-old family business out of spite," Alana continued. "She's a vindictive ex-wife who—" "I'm a businesswoman who saw an opportunity and took it." I stepped closer to the microphones. Garrett Industries was failing under the old management. Client satisfaction was down. Employee turnover was up. And the stock price was stagnant. I didn't destroy this company. I saved it. "The numbers don't lie," Margaret said, stepping forward. "Revenue is up 28% since the acquisition." "Because she stole our clients," Alana shouted. "Because I provided better service," I replied calmly. "Because I listened to what clients actually wanted, instead of assuming I knew better." The crowd was shifting. I could feel the momentum changing. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, addressing the shareholders directly, "you have a choice. You can side with the people who ran this company into the ground, or you can trust the person who's already proven she can turn it around." "All in favor of the no confidence vote?" Alana called out desperately. A few hands went up. Not enough. All opposed? A sea of hands rose. Alana's face went white. "This isn't over." "Yes," I said quietly. "It is." The knock on my office door came at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday. I looked up from the quarterly report spread across my desk to see Juliet standing in the doorway. She looked smaller somehow, diminished without the armor of her usual social settings. "The security guard let me up," she said. "I told him I was family." "We're family," I corrected, not looking up from my papers. "What do you want, Juliet?" She walked in uninvited and sat in the chair across from my desk. "To talk." "About what? Your daughter-in-law's failed coup attempt? Your son's new job at that startup in Portland? Or maybe you want to discuss how I'm ruining the family legacy." "About what you've become." That made me look up. What I've become? Cruel. Vindictive. Everything we said you were. I set down my pen. "You mean successful? Powerful? Everything you said I'd never be. You've destroyed lives, Yara. Heath can barely find work. Alana's reputation is ruined. Donald's had to sell the house. And you don't care. Should I? I leaned back in my chair. Did you care when you handed me that severance check? Did you care when you spent 8 years treating me like I was invisible? Juliet was quiet for a moment. We underestimated you. You dismissed me. There's a difference. Fine. We dismissed you. We were wrong. She looked around my office. The corner suite that used to be Donald's, with its floor-to-ceiling windows and view of the city. But this isn't justice. This is revenge. It's both. It's made you into someone I don't recognize. I laughed. You never recognized me to begin with. That was the problem. I'm trying to apologize. No, you're trying to make yourself feel better about losing. I stood up and walked to the window. The city sparkled below us, a constellation of ambition and possibility. You're trying to turn me into the villain so you can sleep at night. Aren't you? The question hung in the air. I turned back to face her. Maybe. But I'm a villain who employs 300 people. A villain who's increased shareholder value by 60%. A villain who actually listens when her employees have ideas. A villain who destroyed a family. A family that destroyed itself. I walked back to my desk. You want to know what's really cruel, Juliet? It's watching someone you're supposed to love get smaller and smaller until they disappear. It's dismissing their dreams because they don't fit your vision of who they should be. We made mistakes. You made choices. Every snide comment, every dismissive laugh, every time you talked over me or around me, those were choices. Juliet's composure finally cracked. What do you want from us? What would make this stop? Nothing. Because it's already over. I sat back down. You lost. I won. The story's finished. Then why do you look so miserable? The words hit like a physical blow. I stared at her, this woman who'd spent years perfecting the art of cutting remarks, and realized that she'd finally landed one that mattered. I'm not miserable. I'm successful. You're alone. I'm independent. You're isolated. She leaned forward. When's the last time you had dinner with someone who wasn't a business associate? When's the last time you laughed at something that wasn't someone else's failure? I didn't answer because I couldn't. You won, Yara. You got everything you wanted. But what did it cost you? After she left, I sat in my office as the building emptied around me. The cleaning crew worked quietly in the halls, and the city lights blurred together outside my window. My phone buzzed. A text from Nora. Drinks tonight? You've been working too much. I started to type my usual excuse, then stopped. Deleted it. Typed, yes, but somewhere loud and crowded. I'm tired of quiet. I looked around my office one more time. The awards on the walls, the financial reports showing record profits, the framed magazine covers featuring my face. All the proof I'd needed that I was worth something. But Juliet was right about one thing. Victory was supposed to feel different than this. I grabbed my coat and headed for the elevator. Maybe revenge was a dish best served cold, but success was something you had to share to really taste it. The elevator doors closed on my reflection. CEO, entrepreneur, the woman who turned $50,000 into an empire. The woman who'd proven that the decorative wife was anything but. The woman who finally learned the difference between being powerful and being happy. The doors opened on the lobby, and I stepped out into the night, ready to figure out what came next.